Hi all, it's Barb coming to you from my craft studio. I'm going to talk about the first week of the Unofficial Get Organized Challenge. It's all about setting yourself up for success. I'll be right back. Now, I'll link Tiffany's video, her official video, to the challenge steps for setting yourself up for success. I always say the first one is to watch Tiffany's video that explains all about the system and the challenge. I will either add an info card here or at the end. I also have created a playlist of the Get Organized Challenge videos from the last time she did it, which I believe was in 2022. And I think she started it in March, if I remember right. But I will try to remember to also add a little information box in the bottom. I am posting the homework list and daily reminders. Usually I do like a reminder a day. This first week there's a lot of steps, so it's a couple a day. You know, kind of depends on the challenge. Most of them, it seems like one a day works well, or sometimes maybe having to throw in a second one. Like I'll do the video. The video's always the first one, and then I'll do another piece of the homework. But just kind of remind you. And I also have I'm posting it in Barb's Craft Studio, my Facebook group, and in Tiffany's Get Organized with Totally Tiffany, I believe it's called now. I mentioned I was doing it, and she brought it up on the last live and told me that was fine. So the first step is to watch the video. The next step is to use your supplies to create your big benefit board and come up with a reward for each of the 8 weeks of the challenge. Try to hang it up someplace where you'll see it every day. You don't have to use your supplies if you don't want. You can just write them down on a sheet of paper and go with it. I'll just kind of share some of the different ones I've done over the years. I've created ones. This was my second one because it says round 2. I just typed them out. I just typed out my big benefit was I'll be able to find things in my craft room and be able to craft without frustration. And then I put each week. This was 2014. I know I did my first one in 2013. Seems like I would have done 1 or 2 in between there and this, but it says round 2. I don't know. And then what my rewards were. This time I had a few crafting supplies, but I did a lot of storage, which I've done that. I did that a lot my first few challenges. Like this week, my reward would have been something to help with next week's challenge, which is paper. So I would have bought some paper storage, and that's kind of how I ended up getting my organization supplies. This was another one. This is actually a two one. This one I kind of had multiple big benefits, and then I had my rewards were in the pockets. And this one, it had a little arrow that I could point it at what week I was on. It's kind of falling apart. Whatever adhesive I used, I did not do a very good job. I think it looks like I just used tape runner. Must have been a cheapy one or something because they're not sticking. But like this, I said, more crafting done, meeting with my crafting buddies. That's one reason I love the challenge. But I get that now from her lives, where, well, I don't really have in real life crafting buddies, my virtual crafting buddies. Knowledge acquired from the Scrap Rack staff. Mine was kind of the big benefit for participating in the challenge, it looks like this time. Be ready for a crop if I ever went to one. Keep my room pretty. Less frustration, shopping with intent, and catching up with scrapbooking. And then this one was the fall of 2014, which I thought that's what that one said. I had two for the fall of 2014, I guess. I wonder if I dated the one wrong, but this one I had the little tags where I just wrote what my rewards were. I think originally I had the tags inside the pockets because these are little envelopes, and when I finished I put them on the outside to show that I had finished that part. And then there was this one, to keep my studio my happy place. I do something similar to this now. I need to get my big benefit board set up for this round, but I just do it on a magnetic, like dry erase board, and I have little pockets and envelopes. I will try to remember to get that set up and take a photo of it and put it at the end to show you what my big benefit board is now. And that I kind of always usually keep it up in place, but I think I took it down for something else and I just never set it back up. And those were just kind of some samples of my big benefit boards. If you're part of the Get Organized with Totally Tiffany group, there is an album in the group filled with other people's boards, which is kind of nice. But you can see, you can do it simple or you can do them elaborate. It's up to you. The important part is to get it down on paper and have it someplace where you can see, or you could do a digital one. But the reason I like the paper ones better is because they're easier to hang it up and see. I guess if you did a digital one, you could make that like your background on like your computer or your device, whatever you're using, so you see it all the time. That would be good. Read about the 4-section system. Tiffany has an article on it, and I believe she also has a video on it. I will try to put all those links in the list, and they're also in Tiffany's handbook. I know I'll at least try to get a handbook link there. But just quickly, the 4 sections are alphabets and numbers, themes A to Z, the calendar year, and then anything that doesn't fit there goes in the rainbow. I do my whole craft room kind of that way. I do want to stress, doing the challenge is free. There's no charge. You do not have to use Totally Tiffany supplies to use the system. Now, obviously, she uses it during the course of the classes, but she does tell you that you don't have to use it, and sometimes she gives examples of how to implement it using other organizational tools or whatever. But it's easy to adapt to whatever organization tools you're using. I'll be honest, I love my scrap rack, I love my Totally Tiffany products, but the system is key. That one actually is duplicated from the one above it. Determine what type of crafter you are. she has a few different ones. Do I have that article in here? There's Kathy Craft Room and her dog Crop. Kathy only scrapbooks at home. I consider myself mainly a Kathy because I mainly craft here in my studio. Sophia Crop a Lot has a dedicated space at home, but she goes to a lot of crops as well. She's kind of a blend of being at home and on the road. Karen Craftabout has some crafting storage space at home, but she moves around, sometimes dining room table, sometimes in the TV room, sometimes at a crafting event. I kind of have a little bit of a mix of Karen, I say, because I will bring my supplies sometimes up in the TV room while I'm watching TV. I've even brought a few things along if we're going away, not usually a lot, but I have brought like a few things along, like when we used to take trips. We've never done a lot of trips, but usually they were just like a night or two overnight, more like a day trip than it was a trip. But the Mary Mobile Maker, who always crafts away from home, she doesn't really have a dedicated space at home. So determine what type you are, and the reason this is important is for determining what, if you need to purchase storage tools, what those storage tools should be. Do you want them to be something that are just stationary, that pretty much always have to be kind of where they're at because they're not real portable? Or do you need something that's extremely portable, or do you need kind of a blend? You know, so it's just important to figure out where you craft helps you determine what craft storage tools you need. Create your themes and sentiment lists. Tiffany does have a sample list in the Get Organized Challenge group. A lot of people have shared their list to the files. I think mine is in both groups, the Tiffany group and in my own group. I think I've put them both in there. If not, I can add it to my group easy enough. I know it's in the Tiffany group, and several other people have put theirs up too. Now, I'm going to tell you, each of our lists are probably going to vary a little bit because, you know, honestly, my list has changed since I first created it because my kids are all grown now, and so they're not home, so I don't have a lot of those kid things. I did keep a lot of that stuff because my daughter is a teacher, so sometimes when I make her stuff, I use those things still, but I kind of consolidated them all into one. I used to have, you know, school and, you know, kind of baby and childhood, and I kept the baby category for making baby cards, but not everything baby goes into it. So I just kind of I think I ended up renaming it education and childhood / teen years, so that all that goes in one place rather than into multiple places. Important here, take a few before pictures of your space. This is especially important if it's your first challenge, because it's very satisfying to see how much you progress. Gather your supplies together into one room or space. This is as far as you go for sorting this week. If it's your first challenge, there is no real sorting this week. I say if you have time and you want to do a little bit, you could sort down by weeks. Like you could create like different spots in your room, you know, designate kind of an area or a box or whatever, and divide it by, okay, this is paper, so it goes here. My photos go here. My embellishments, my tools. Tools are things that you use to create something else, like your usually to create an embellishment in most cases, your punches, your dies, your stamps, your stencils, your embossing folders, that type of thing. That's what tools are. Then the next week, I think, is color, which is your coloring agents, ink pads, markers, pens, you know, anything you use to add color to a project. And then I believe it's mementos, which is mementos and projects in progress are kind of it's project planning, so anything you're currently working on could go there too. Things like travel brochures, movie tickets, any type of little memorabilia type stuff that you pick up along the way that eventually is supposed to make its way into a scrapbook or a project. A lot of people think that Tiffany system is all about scrapbooking, and while it's kind of revolved around that, you can use it for any type of crafting. And then travel's the last one, which would basically be things that you would only use when you're traveling. That's as far as you need to go for sorting. You don't start sorting paper. You don't. If it's your first challenge, there's no sorting this week. Evaluate your space. Oh, set your purge goals. I forgot that one. Tiffany does have a video and an article on purging. Get a purge box and determine what you're going to do with your purge. Are you going to sell it? Are you going to donate it? Whatever you're going to do, decide where it's going to go. There is a list, and I think both groups, of potential places to donate the items that you no longer want. One thing I'm going to say, and Tiffany usually stresses this in the video, her first video too, is do not give items that don't work away. Don't pass your headache on to somebody else. If it doesn't work, dispose of it or recycle it, whatever the case may be, but don't pass it on to somebody else. You wouldn't like that if you say you donated it to Goodwill and it doesn't work. How would you like it if you went to Goodwill and bought something and it didn't work? So just don't give that frustration to somebody else, not knowingly. I mean, hey, you may end up doing it accidentally just because, hey, I bought 2 of these, so toss one of them in the purge pile. Maybe it doesn't end up working right, but that wasn't intentional, so that's totally different than intentionally passing on something you know doesn't work. I have a list of places. One thing I'll say is a lot of teachers love these supplies, but if you call a school and ask whoever answers the phone, they'll a lot of times will tell you, no, we don't take that type of stuff. You're better to talk directly to a teacher. A lot of us know teachers. If you know a teacher, ask them, and if maybe they're not interested, say, could you ask some of your co-teachers if maybe they would be interested? Or if you call a school, which might be a little hard right now because a lot of them are in summer break already, ask the art teacher maybe, or younger grade teacher. But an art teacher would probably be a good one, and just say, hey, I have these crafting supplies that I'm getting rid of. Would you be interested in them? So right now you could always just save that purge until school goes back in the fall and then contact them. Evaluate your space for visibility and accessibility. Make changes and prepare your space for your supplies. I always say this first week is about preparing yourself and your space for what is ahead. And think about, when you do this, think about your most used tools. What do I use the most? Because you want those close by, and the things you don't use as much further away, so that you're getting the most use. Like, okay, I grab my pens and I like having my crocodiles close. My inks the most, so I like them right there, so they're easy to grab. I'm a big fan of carts, I'll say that. I like having the carts. I don't know if I can get this one in frame at all, so that I can have that off to the side, and then when I'm working, if I need adhesives, I can just pull this cart over alongside me and work. I love carts for that reason. I love Tiffany's because they roll underneath the desk easily. The IKEA Raskogs were nice, but I find for the most part I don't like them as well, for a few reasons. One, the trays are stationary, so getting certain things in and out of them is difficult. So the ones I use, I try to make it stuff that's easy to get in and out. Tiffany's I like because the baskets or drawers slide out, so it's easier to get the stuff that's in the back. It's more accessible. That's why I love Tiffany's carts. Create an organized only space. Now, don't overthink this one. This one can start small and grow with you through the challenge. I always say the first thing we're going to sort is paper next week. So figure out where your paper is going to go. Like for me, I put it in a calyx unit. So if I was totally starting fresh on paper, hadn't sorted anything down, I would empty a cube or two just so I had room to put it organized, and then sort that down, put it away, and then I'd be able to empty another cube out, and just my space is going to grow, see, as I go. And then you might have to do that every week of the challenge. Like next week's paper, so you might want to think about, okay, next up is photos. Where am I going to store my photos? I need to clear out the space so that when I sort my photos, my organized photos can go back in that space. So your organized only space is going to grow throughout the challenge. And if you're a repeat performer, it's just, you don't want to undo that unless you totally don't like how it's set up. But even then, I wouldn't totally mix everything together, because if you've already sorted, say, half your paper, you don't really want to disturb that paper. You just want to add to what's organized already. So don't start it all over if it's your second, third, fourth, whatever challenge. Just grow on that organized only space. Create she calls it a widget notebook. It's WDYDT. What did you do today? I don't create a whole notebook. I tried it the first time. I found it didn't really work for me. And I'm a list maker. I love making lists. I found I was just having too many places to do things. So what I did instead was I do a happy planner, so it's got like 3 rows in it for the week. So my bottom row is my widgets part. I try to write down there, okay, this is what I did today. I still do that, even not with the challenge. Like I'll write down, okay, I use it mainly for crafting though. So, oh, I did this project, or I cut this project out, whatever. Just to show that I did get in there and make some progress on something. My planner's kind of evolving to be a little different than what it was when I first started it. So that's kind of one of the things that I've tried to take it out, because Tiffany puts it there. There's something, yeah, having the list is nice and being able to check things off, but there's something very rewarding, I guess, about being able to write this. I accomplished this today. So the check marks kind of do the same thing. But if you're not already a member of the Get Organized, it's now called Get Organized with Totally Tiffany. It used to be the Get Organized Challenge group. Now it's Get Organized with Totally Tiffany. If you're not a member of that group, consider joining it. It's one of the most drama-free groups I've been into. I will say it has grown a lot since she merged with Crafter's Companion, which means there's more spam in there. It takes them a while to delete it. I will tell you, I'm a moderator in that group, but I'm not allowed to delete post unless it's a file that doesn't belong in the group. I kind of volunteered to keep the files in order, so if I find a duplicate file, I'll delete it. Or if I know the file's pretty good, so if somebody posts one and I can see it's more up to date than my old one, I'll delete the old one in the group, and I'll leave that one. But I go through and I tag them all, though I see Facebook has changed tagging again. They used to have a nice little place in each group that you could go and you could see the tags. You could click on that tag and it would bring you to everything that was tagged that way in the group, which made tagging all those files in the group really important, which is why I volunteered to do it. And now they've changed that and they don't have that resource in the groups. I mean, you can still search the tag and find it, but it was just so much. I think it was so useful to have that little area right in the group that you could look and say, okay, these are the most used tags in the group. Oh, that's the one I want, and see everything that was tagged that. But Facebook keeps getting rid of the things that I like about it and giving me new things that I don't want. That's just me. But the most important part is to go public share what you're doing and what you're hoping to accomplish with someone. Whether you do that in like the Get Organized Facebook group or my Facebook group, or you just tell a friend or a relative, whatever. Because the reasoning behind that is somebody asks you, how are you doing with this? You want to be able to say, oh yeah, I'm making progress with that. You hate to tell somebody, oh yeah, I kind of didn't do that anymore. Create a progress post. Now during official challenges, there's giveaways and stuff. I'm not doing that because I don't have the resources to do that. But it's still, I think, it's fun to see other people post their progress. And like I said, you can even post a lack of progress post. Don't let life's curveballs throw you for a loop. Hey, this week things just happened and I didn't get things done. There's nothing wrong with that. It happens to all of us. But usually, a lot of times you have accomplished something. Just write that down. Oh, I managed to get this much done, but I didn't finish all the steps yet. I'm still working on them. That's fine. We've all been there. And will be again. And then the most important part is when you finish those steps, celebrate with your reward. Like I'm going to tell you, I'll stress this every week with whatever the homework is, but for this week there's no sorting, so you aren't required to do any sorting to celebrate with your reward. And so your rewards don't have to cost money. They can be, if you like to read or listen to music, you can just say, and maybe you don't take the time to do those things, or if you just like to go for a walk and you just don't take the time to do that, make that a reward and then say, oh, I've got to take my rewards, so I have to do that this week. So just take them. Like I really like McDonald's sweet tea. Not supposed to be having it much anymore, but so sometimes that can be a reward for me because it's a treat for me. Or I love ice cream. That's another thing I'm supposed to be cutting out of my diet, but I love ice cream. Maybe make that something like that your reward if you normally don't have sweets and there's not there's not a medical reason why you can't have that. I mean, I don't want somebody taking something, doing something that will jeopardize their health, but if it's just, oh, I'm trying to lose weight so I don't eat, sugar. Treat yourself. Those little rewards are nice. Tiffany does usually have a little product discussion at the end of the thing where she talks about her products. She usually always does this at the very end. She tries to reserve product questions for the end so that if you're not interested in that, you can, once you get to a certain point and she's going to go into talking about products, you can stop watching and you're not going to miss anything challenge related. I tell you, my challenge for myself is a little bit different because I've done this challenge so many times that most of my stuff is fairly well organized. One thing I'm trying to start doing is, I don't have one in here, do I? As I'm trying to, when I determine something, especially for organization, that I need, not only write down the item and how many I need, but to write down why I need it. Because I'll tell you, I've done before where I've went and I'm like, I've got my order, I'm like, what did I order that for? It's sad that you get to that point in your life, but I've done it a few times now, so I really try to write down not only what I need and how many I need, but why I need it. What am I going to put in that item? So that's one of my goals, is to start a new notebook for that and get it kind of set up, even if I don't write anything down on it, but just to kind of graph out, this is what I need and why I need it. I want to make a list for each week of what my goals are, Like I usually set up my big benefit board if I don't already have it up. A lot of times I leave mine up all the time. Get reset back up down here. She hasn't done a challenge since I moved down into this room, so I don't think it got reset up here when I put that back on the wall. Sometimes I try to still take the pictures. I try to review my themes and sentiment list at least once a year because, like I said, what you craft about changes over time. So I try to review that. My purge goals, I'll be honest, mine are not like Tiffany's. I basically kind of just mentally ask myself, would I buy this now? And if I don't, then I probably need to get rid of it. Like I said, I keep more, but I'm kind of in a different situation where I do projects for other people. So it's a little harder to know what I might need. But I have gotten rid of things that just, I'm like, I'll never use this. You know, sometimes some of it just looks so dated that I know I won't use it. Now, I'll be honest, I kept some of my dated stuff when I was way behind on scrapbooking because I'm like, it fits in with that time frame. So the dated stuff was kind of nice. But I do have my purge box. It's in my cube over there. I probably need to make it a little more accessible than it is. That might be something I work on this week, is a new page, a new purge box location. And then I might just try to go through and write down what I hope to get done every week. Like paper week, I'd like to go through and review where, just kind of straighten my paper up because it's gotten a little messy, and I know I have some things that I've pulled and used, or there might be a few new items over there too that just need to be filed. Photo week, I have work to do on digital photos, so digital photos is definitely going to go on my list. Embellishment weeks, I want to try to get more of the pockets lined in my scrap rack, you know, things like that. I have, for tool week, I know I have some new tools that need to get cataloged. I think I have a few new ink pads and markers that need to be cataloged for color week. Trying to think what's after that. Mementos, is it next? I think it's Mementos next. Yeah, Mementos. Now those I'm pretty much up to date on, so I'll have to figure out what I'm going to do that week. And I don't travel with my supplies, so those weeks I'll figure out what I want to do. I'll have to look and see how much do I have to do each of those other weeks, because some of that might spill into the following weeks, because like I said, don't do everything in one week. Follow the homework. It's especially true when you're your first time through. I've been through it so many times that I can't always follow the homework, because like paper week, I think you're supposed to sort 8 inches if I remember correctly. I don't have 8 inches of paper to sort, so mine's more organized, just kind of straightening up what I already have. And I kind of try to look and see while I'm there, is there anything that needs to go. But I'll be honest, I have went through my paper so many times, and I've gotten it to the point where it's working for me and I'm using it, so I don't want to mess with it too much. But I've got a lot of editing to do on this, but I kind of hope if you're joining me, you kind of get the gist of it. Like I said, I will try to add information in the information box that's below the video, or I think it's always below. It's just sometimes it pops up on the side when you hit the more button. And I'll also try to add the playlist for the Get Organized Challenge, and also maybe at the end Tiffany's video for this week. That way you have all that information. But that gives you a good idea of where to get started. And if you have questions, feel free to ask. I'll try to answer them either in the comments here, in the Facebook group, wherever you happen to ask it. I'll try to answer it there. But I am thinking about doing a video. I don't know if anybody's interested in that, of just making a list of the questions I get asked and answering them. Like this is Monday, so maybe like Friday do that and get it posted up, so that, because if you have that question, somebody else might have that same question. But hopefully we'll all get some progress done in our rooms, and I want to thank you for joining me, and I'll catch you next time.